Alrighty. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Associated Guess. I'm your host, Alfie Animus, here at the Baron Mind Network. Uh, Today, activist demand Hogwarts Legacy devs disrespect J.K. Rowling and her franchise. They also, we'll get into that. Hassan Piker accidentally outs himself yet again, and I bet he still won't be canceled, and will still have all of his insane fans coming to his defense. Ghosts of Yotei, there's more backlash, and I know I've got two Vera clips today. Bite me. She's a great journalist, and she sounds like the lady from League of Their Own. And then if we have time, if I don't talk for too long about these first few topics, we'll go talk about TYT apparently getting a call from nephew with a Gucci bag, Hassan Diddy Bin Laden Piker, saying, "Oh, Uncle Jink, will you say something about Asmon? He keeps talking about me. He says I hurt my dog." I know he doesn't sound like that. If he was Southern instead of whatever he is, that would be what he sounds like. But we'll go ahead and jump into this hilarious Hogwarts Legacy news.
It is perfectly fine to dislike a certain product, but it's not okay to then go and demand the developers behind a game drop the original creator because they don't like them, and that has been happening for years.
I gotta say, the hatred for J.K. Rowling is kind of asinine. I mean, she agrees with everyone except for the most extreme of leftist policy. This is absolutely nuts. Like, I see even friends of mine, of course, then again, I was surprised that I saw so many people cheering on the death of Charlie Kirk when it happened, and I guess it should have been a precursor. But J.K. Rowling she's a true rags to riches story. I mean, she even talks about, in one of the last stories I did about her, the whole her and Emma Watson thing, she used to live in her car. And not just hey, going out to Hollywood to live in my car. She lived in her car. She was homeless, like actually homeless, not just rich kid living in a van because I don't want to live under mom and dad's rules. Like, and so many people are ragging on her when she agrees with them on 98% of things. But that one thing, and then everyone in the whole side is against her. Look, I think everyone should live and be allowed to live. But just because someone disagrees with you, one, it doesn't mean they don't think you should exist. Saying that they don't believe in trans people or whatever, which is kind of silly, but I mean, a lot of trans people are kind of silly. Just the crazed ones, and everyone should know that there's always crazy ones. There's crazy cis people, there's crazy trans people, there's crazy white people, there's, crazy northerners, crazy southerners, and we all know there's crazy trailer park folk. But
when it's come to J.K. Rowling's Wizarding World, there are so many people who have demanded she drop her creation, give it to somebody else that they personally like, and of course that is not
no. And the fact that J.K. Rowling has so many rights over her property just proves how much she thought this through, and I'm so glad she did. You should not be able to strip a creator of something that they did that you love just because they disagree with you. And everyone always says, separate the art from the artist, but the people who say that don't separate the art from the artist. And J.K. Rowling is a very clear example of that. I almost said excuse. Pardon me,
going to happen. But now they're talking about how if Hogwarts Legacy 2 wants to avoid the same boycotts its predecessor faced that epically failed.
Exactly. The predecessor, the boycotts improved the sales. People, myself included, I've played some of the game. It's a pretty good game. For a Harry Potter game, it's pretty phenomenal, actually. I need to go back through and play it. I'll probably play it as a Christmas stream this year, because I really do need to play it. But it's a pretty good game, and I'm pretty sure there's even a trans character in the game, and J.K. Rowling doesn't care because there's no bathroom scene. But I'm just saying, the boycotts backfired and failed. So unless this is an advertising firm who wants to be like, we'll protest y'all again if y'all just please. They clearly
sequel
have no
cannot
idea.
take the same approach. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the
They have no idea how to get what they want. They didn't pay attention to what happened after the last one. They think the game bombed, I guess. I think it even did so well that they did free DLC. I'd have to look that up, but I'm pretty sure that's accurate.
topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, this is so freaking hilarious to me because, of course, J.K. Rowling is an extremely vocal, passionate person, and I don't agree with everything that she's ever said. I disagree with her on a lot, to be fair, but at the same time, I do not.
But you can separate things, and you can, still love Harry Potter just because you disagree with J.K. Rowling on a thing or two. It doesn't matter. She still seems like a pretty cool lady, and I love watching her shitpost. There's nothing better than watching someone who writes professionally write shitpost on X. I apologize. It would be nice if I didn't break up my sentences like William Shatner.
Think that it is okay that you wish the original creator of something gives it up because you don't like them. I would never make that demand. I don't think it's okay for anybody to make that demand, but the boycotts surrounding Hogwarts Legacy had epically failed. The Access Media failed, the SJWs failed, the activists did not get what they wanted. This game sold like hotcakes, and a sequel definitely would as well because the first one was really solid, though now the Access Media is coming out and saying they need to make major changes and people are wrecking them for it. So, it says for years the Harry Potter franchise has dominated pop culture, with Hogwarts Legacy acting as the franchise's most popular video game adaptation. It's no wonder that controversy surrounding the franchise has sprung up at some point, as the first Harry Potter book was released almost 30 years ago. Nevertheless, it's disappointing that such a well-loved piece of pop culture has been sullied in the eyes of many Potterheads despite new content for the franchise like Hogwarts Legacy. It says J.K. Rowling has hurt many Harry Potter and Hogwarts Legacy fans, creeping through the promotion and marketing for Legacy.
Wait, hold on. Did it say that she's hurt them?
Hogwarts Legacy fans, creeping through the promotion and marketing. Rowling has hurt many Harry Potter and Hogwarts Legacy fans, creeping through the promotion and marketing for.
No, she hasn't. She really hasn't. Show me on the doll where J.K. Rowling hurt you. Look, I'm not going to lie. A lot of this is... I'm not going to say it.
Legacy prior to the release was the never-ending controversy surrounding J.K. Rowling's transphobic comments. Now, of course, J.K. Rowling believes a man is a man and a woman is a woman. That is a stance 95% of humans on this planet.
I don't think it's 95%. I think it's getting closer to 90%. But I completely agree. And you should be able to believe whatever you want. Me personally, I'm somewhere in the middle when it comes to this. I'm willing to admit that yes, trans people clearly exist. They clearly exist. These are facts. But most of the ones on the internet are either doing it for clout. They're not even really doing it. I've known people in real life who don't even do anything to change, and they just call themselves something else. Like a girl wears a low-cut shirt, wears a little less makeup, cut her bangs to expose her freakishly huge forehead, and calls herself a boy. You're still a girl. Look, and you can call yourself whatever you want. It doesn't affect me. But when you start making other people call you what you see yourself as, especially when you don't do anything and you lash out at people for not seeing you as the thing that you see yourself as, that's where I draw the line. People shouldn't have to adhere to your worldview. You don't have to be friends, but you clearly also don't have to go after these people. People are allowed to disagree with you the same way that you're allowed to disagree with Christians or disagree with any religion or disagree with conservatives or whatever, they're allowed to disagree with you too. And that is not causing you a genocide. For the love of fuck, there is no trans genocide.
But there are some people that disagree with that. Hey,
Not
you're
America.
allowed to, if you really want to, though people are going to point and laugh at you, though regardless, it is her opinion, just like you have an opinion. That should be okay. It says, though, that Rowling's comments on the trans community, in conjunction with the re-examination of portrayals of people of color in the books, have essentially reduced the legacy of Potter from a juggernaut in young adult fiction to a nostalgic but messy memory. The large majority of her comments...
That's not true. Harry Potter's as big as ever. They're actually fixing to make a really shitty TV series on HBO. where they completely disregard character descriptions, very clear character descriptions. And yes, J.K. Rowling is guilty of changing a few things here and there. She said Hermione could be black or whatever. But there are some, and it doesn't really ever specify, I don't think, what race Hermione is. It just describes her hair, I believe. But Snape, it very clearly says what he looks like. That, and if taken out of context, if you do some of the flashback scenes between Harry Potter's dad and his friends and Severus Snape, it makes them look like, it would make them look like racist. And you can't have this. I mean, it could make, I'm not gonna lie, it could make a pretty compelling dynamic, but not one that belongs in a kid's show. If it was an adult, like a more young adults or an adult show, sure. But that kind of hate crime being in a movie made for kids, no. Good Lord, keep your fan fiction where it needs to be. Out of the mainstream.
Were posted on.
Or change it just enough to make it mainstream. Like, I think 50 Shades of Grey was fanfic of those shitty Twilight books. That Rebel Moon, the shitty Star Wars fanfic, which is pretty much just Star Wars with worse writing.
X, with the catalyst of these views being publicly perceived when she liked a tweet in 2018 that described transgender women as men in dresses. Of course, they have labeled her TERF, but they're saying that she has sullied the image of Harry Potter and that basically she needs to drop it. That is a stance Emma Watson also held many years ago, and I know that she's kind of flip-flopping now that she's realized she's getting a little bit older. She can't get these young, cutesy roles anymore, so she needs to mature a bit.
That's because she partially retired to be an activist, and she was bad at it. If you don't believe in something, you're only doing it for the clout and the clicks and the likes, then you shouldn't be doing it. You're a fair weather activist, and there are very few people that I will say disgust me, but you disgust me.
And in order to mature and kind of get a little bit farther away from Hermione, she needs more opportunities in Hollywood. Right now, being extremely vocal is not really what is making companies money. And so I think that she's just trying her best to maybe get in JK's good graces again, a little bit steam, like she's not as hard-stanced as she previously was. She's just trying to change her image a little bit, though I'm never going to forget the things that she said, and I'm never going to ultimately completely forgive her either. Now, it says, though, that Hogwarts Legacy 2 will likely take the same approach as its predecessor. Good, because the game made billions of dollars. The game was a high-quality experience, and, of course, this is a perfect example of you can never make these individuals happy, because there was a transgender character in this. There was a lot of diversity in this, and it wasn't in your face. It wasn't disgustingly obvious, them pushing the narrative in your face constantly. That wasn't the case, so they didn't like it, so they're not happy, and they're saying they need to change it all going forward. It says right away a few ideas sprung to mind. Serona Ryan's role as the head proprietor of the Three Broomsticks could be beneficial to the plot if the bar serves as a key location, and two, perhaps she could once again come to the defense of her patrons, like the main students in the hypothetical sequel. If the game takes the mystery route, Serona Ryan could essentially act as the the archetypal, trustworthy adult or mentor that mysteries led by teenagers tend to have. She could be a major quest giver and ally on certain tasks, appearing regularly throughout the entire game. And this just proves that they didn't play it, because you actually have to talk to Sirona quite a few times. They are, I wouldn't say the most important person in the game, but you're constantly going to the three broomsticks. You're talking to them quite a bit, and you can't really make them a much more prominent character without the character being completely shoved in your face. And really, they just want this to happen so that they can try to own J.K. Rowling, so they can try to upset J.K. Rowling.
But you're sucking at it. All this shit just made the first game sell better.
I don't think that she cares. She wasn't really affiliated with this game. Sure, she made like one statement, like, I'm so proud of everybody affiliated.
But that's the thing. She wasn't affiliated with it, and two, all this shit made it sell better the first time, and she gets off on this. She loves responding because she's better at writing than you are. Sorry to say, but yes, she's much better. Her takedown of Emma Watson was pure cinema. Oh my God. I really wish I could have read it better than I did in my really crappy Stewie impersonation the other morning. But my God.
With it, but that was it. She didn't write it. She didn't produce it. She didn't have a say in what happened in the game. And all she really cares about is that adaptations of her books are being made. Though Game Rant believes they know best, and they are getting absolutely wrecked. First of all, they have an X account with 61,000 followers. This post has 29 likes, and it's got 100 comments and over 100 reposts already of people wrecking them. The boycotts literally...
That's not a good like ratio. 34.2 thousand views. Just under 30 likes. There's a lot more comments. Like I'm pretty sure most of these comments and most of these reposts are shit talking it.
It did nothing. It sold 22 million units by the end of its release year, and it had nothing to do with any approach. Their problems with the very connection to Harry Potter. The devs even did everything they could to appease boycotters before the thing came out by putting in a trans character, and of course these boycotts failed. And if you feel passionately enough, don't buy the game, don't support the game, don't support J.K. Rowling, but at the same time, don't go on and on and on about boycotts that you did not successfully pull off. Those boycotts had the impact of a gnat fart. The boycotts were great PR, though. There's no appeasing the scolds and the woke offia. Why bother trying? You literally can't win the game, so why play in the first place? The rant network continues to live down to my very low expectations. The boycott failed and actually helped the game. Why would you bring up such a bad POV? It was the best-selling game the year it was released, and it still charts. The heck are you talking about? The boycotts helped the sale, so why would they want to avoid them? It sold 30+ million copies. I'd suggest they lean heavily into what they did already. The author of this article is an obese.
And look, all of these, I mean, probably true, the obese woman thing. And not that it matters, but look, I don't care. I don't care. Especially with licensed franchises. Like those of you that don't know, licensed franchises are like, there's a really awesome movie, and you make you want a game made of it, or a comic book, or something else based off that, or a licensed franchise movie is basically all comic book movies. Those are based off comic books. It's one form of media based off another, and you have to pay usually an exorbitant amount of things, which is why most people just try to own the things that they make movies about these days. But if you have a property and you want to make a game off of it, like a book or a movie franchise, all I want, personally, all you should want, is it to be faithful to the source material and do something awesome. Great gameplay. That's it. It should have a pretty, at least a story as good as, a story that's better than Fantastic Beast, which I think they had in the first game from what I saw. I didn't get too far into it, but... And the gameplay was pretty damn good. It was what you would expect from the kind of game that it was, like a little bit of an action RPG kind of, sort of. And Yeah, that's all you really want. Good story, great gameplay, or at least pretty good, like 7, 8 out of 10 gameplay, 7, 8 out of 10 story. But instead, people are throwing in a bunch of politics and giving you wanting to give you like a 4 out of 10 story. And don't get me wrong, a lot of the games are very polished as far as the aesthetic, the visual aesthetic. But that's about it. It's got as much depth as Battlefront, the Star Wars Battlefront games, once EA got a hold of them. The story was practically not there, if there was any at all. They looked and sounded amazing, but the gameplay wasn't there. And it didn't even have the same appeal of leveling up or anything like that that the original games had. That's and these problems have been here forever. The only difference is they didn't shit talk you personally before if you didn't like them. Now they have the so-called moral high ground. Thanks, Obi-Wan. And they use that to just firmly bash you for not liking their shitty product. They use minority groups as human shields and clubs to beat you with and to block all, dissent and disrespect. That is truly vile. It's everything that they accuse the other side of being. But let's continue.
Woman, what boycott? Can we all agree gaming boycotts don't work? A game fails because it's a bad game. And clearly this game got a lot of attention, and we knew that it was going to sell pretty freaking well just because there are so many Harry Potter fans out there, and there are a lot of normies who are just looking to buy a big game that they think they're going to get a lot of value out of, even though if they don't buy a lot of games in a year, and that's perfectly fine. But this game really gave you almost everything you could ask for. I personally still wish that they had added Quidditch into it. I wish that they had done a round of holiday DLC around a Christmas time where, nice. Of course, Hogwarts is all decorated and you can get new costumes and maybe there's some special quests, things like that. But I still thought that they did a really good job for what this game was, and
for how I don't think there was a lot of hype behind it before the boycotts, honestly, which is why I think sometimes these things are done on purpose. Or maybe it wasn't, I don't know. But I don't remember hearing about this game a lot before the boycotts. I thought it was going to be about the same level as all the the Wii titles for Harry Potter back in the day. But no, it turned out to be kind of cool. Not going to lie.
Thoroughly enjoyed it, and I definitely am looking forward to a sequel. But of course, these types of people are individuals you could never make happy, and it's why studios really shouldn't be listening to them and thinking that these are the types of gamers that they need their product to appeal to, because these people don't really buy video games, and even if they do buy a couple a year, they're still going to boycott it because J.K. Rowling is profiting off.
And look, and I'm gonna stop her video right there. Go check out Vera Dark. Like I said, she's a great journalist. That's why I utilize a lot of her videos. She's really good at what she does. She's passionate about her work, and she knows what she's talking about. But look, a lot of these video games in any entertainment space, really, movies, it's a business. And while, yes, I wish that they would take more risks, risks don't always come with profit. There have been risks in the past that have worked, like Lord of the Rings, the original trilogy. When they put that out, they filmed all 3 of the movies for a very tight budget, and from what I understand, the filming was kind of horrendous for that time, at least. It was all filmed in New Zealand, but they filmed all 3 of the movies at the same time. And they filmed extended cuts, which was unheard of. Completely unheard of. But they believed in the project, they believed in their director, and it paid off for them. But risks don't always work out. And you have to understand, they need a return on their investment. A lot of them don't want to just break even. And between the cost of the film itself, the amount of the ticket pricing, because the um, the box office numbers don't necessarily make out to dollars that the movie gets to make in return. It's usually, depending on the movie, depending on the studio, it's usually estimated at about half. Probably a little more than that. I know for the most part, movie theaters make most of their money with their completely ridiculously priced concession stands. But it depends on the studio, really. But that being said, percentage-wise, look, make a video game about it, whatever you want, but you have to understand the big budget games are there for big audiences. And you can't make a niche title with big budget expenses. You just can't, because you're not going to make it back no matter how much you virtue signal. It's just not going to work. It's not expanding your audience. It's shrinking it, which is why I've been just at such a loss the last, Jesus, pretty much. It started before Endgame, so really since Infinity War, when it comes to Marvel at the very least. But you've been seeing it kind of seep into all kinds of other things. Since before that, the 2016 Ghostbusters. Why all females? Ocean's 8, was it? Just why? Most of these movies are going to sell just as well if they're male or female, at least as far as when it comes to women, women going. But for the most part, women want, like the activists want to be in these things, but nobody wants to watch it. It's like the WNBA. Like, yes, some female athletes make, they're entertaining to watch, whether it be, the Williams sisters playing tennis, or pretty much any female MMA fighters. Everyone loves to see that shit. That's why Ronda Rousey, when she was at her peak, for that very short time she was at her peak, she was huge. But you have to. It's the same reason why the WNBA hasn't made a profit since its inception, and it's right now it's at its most profitable, and the whole league hates its most profitable player. These are just facts. It's like people don't want to make money, but they want to make money, and it makes zero sense to me. But look, I know I kind of went off on a tangent. I didn't really make any points, but it infuriates me that people, like, look, I used to love indie stuff when I was younger, but I don't expect a lot of that stuff to get big budgets because people weren't there to watch it. The same way that comic book movies, beyond the scope of Ninja Turtles or DC or Marvel, and that's just the big name DC and Marvel stuff, a lot of the smaller stuff won't make any money just because it won't. James Gunn probably has the best odds of making something small into something big, but he shouldn't touch Superman. These are just facts. But anyway, I'm gonna move on before I rant and make no real conclusions. Let's move on to the Hasan story, guys. Something fun for us.
So yes, somehow it's happened again. Another plane has hit the tower.
So for those of you who aren't aware, Hasan Piker is a shit weasel. No, well, he is. But Hasan Piker is a dick. The government's been kind of going after him thanks to stuff being pointed out by Tectone and Elon Musk and such. But for the most part, Hasan Piker is a dog abuser. And people have been pointing this out. Hold on.
I hate this fucking country so much.
Yeah, we hate you too, Hasan.
You can be on a fucking mountain in the middle of Norway and get better internet than Los Angeles, California. A moment of anger, but it is emblematic of all of America's much more consequential
the dog starts
violence.
And mind you, this dog is on this one little mat. He's literally just decoration. He's window trim for Hasan Piker. Hasan streams for 4 hours at a time, usually about 8 to 9 hours a day. This man does nothing but stream all day and live in fear of his own audience and try to appease them. Oh, I'll get a dog. It'll make me seem more humane. But we're about to see the beginning of, and as you can see here, what it turned into. But about 3 seconds.
Okay? It's the same reason as to why America, Kaya, please just
Look,
fucking go. Just stop.
Like, he very clearly...
Kaya, please just fucking go. Just stop. Jesus Christ. What are you doing?
What are you doing?
You're being such a baby.
You're being such a baby. Let me shock you. Let me very clearly shock you. So that's the inciting incident on this. And he's come back and been like, oh, it's a vibrating call, or no, he's saying that the dog accidentally clipped its paw or some shit.
Kaya, please just fucking go. Just stop.
It doesn't line up. Does not compute. At the time the dog yelped, its paws weren't actively hitting the ground. They were coming up, if anything. Makes no fucking sense. But anyway, so an update. Hasan was doing something Christmassy, setting up Christmas before October, like he's a suburban white chick. Absolutely ridiculous. That's bad enough. The fact that he's setting up for Christmas before Halloween's even here is bad enough. Let alone... Oh.
Boom.
Oh, what's that? Is that a little electric dog collar remote right where he was reaching in the thing? And look, me personally, I don't care. I really don't. But the fact that he's cowering and covering and lying about it, one, completely sure it's illegal in California. But two, the fact that he...
Yes, again.
Yeah.
I got.
He moved it underneath his monitor so it can't be seen. Very casual, Hasan. Then he looks up. Oh,
I'm gonna put the white
see
shot.
you there.
Boom. Yes, again. I got.
This is the remote for the vibrating gate. I swear. Why does it?
Yeah, he said all kinds of stuff. It's a vibrating gate. Oh my god.
He moved this one specific thing out of the frame. It's clearly the ET300 remote that he is literally holding up on his stream. He's hiding it in plain sight. Oh god.
Yeah.
This is the one people thought it was. And it's in the exact same spot that it always is in nose clips. Educator ET3000 Mini. Compare this to the back of the remotes. Okay. Oh man.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty close. Pretty
Oh
close.
gee. Lion Ted. Bro, what?
Yep. Hold on. Let's take a little peeky. Okay. So you got the little clock there. And you got that right there, the little writing. And then a little shiny there. Yep. Looks pretty similar.
This is 100% unequivocally proven now. If I had to bet on it, I'd bet that this is what happened. Why doesn't he just say he uses
like such
it?
a baby?
He never admits that he's wrong, even about like anything really small.
He's a baby.
And I think that's really kind of it creates a false sense of security, and eventually, you know, you do that for long enough, and you have a fuck up like this, and that's it.
There are so many people working with it.
Look, why would you do this? And I'm guessing I'm gonna have to get to the Young Turks thing tomorrow. But for the love of God, Hasan Diddy Bin Laden Piker, the communist with the Gucci bag. He's an activist who's got to have his swag. Sorry, sipping on my coffee. Why would you do this? Like, again, I don't particularly care. Like, I do in the fact that I hate seeing... I'm like any other human. I don't like seeing animals in pain. You should not be mean to animals because you hate yourself or because you hate life or anything like that. You just shouldn't have an animal because you act like an animal. Like, this guy's horribly afraid of his audience. All he cares about is clout and people looking at him. He's a baby-headed... he's basically PC principal from the early episodes where he was introduced on South Park. That's Hassan Piker. He just wants to crunch some poon. Literally all he wants to do. And he's going to do it by pretending that he cares about things more deeply than he actually does. He might actually care to an extent, but for the most part, he's just clout chasing. Anyone who's at least familiar with Hassan, who doesn't have their head dissolved or disappeared up his butt, knows this. I've been aware of Hassan for at least 10 years. Back when he was working for Uncle Jink on TYT, and he was the worst thing on there, which is why he didn't stay for very long. Because he's the worst. He's a stupid-ass rich kid, and that's it. People think he's hot because he's loaded and he works out a bit. And he agrees with them on everything. That's basically it. And the fact that he, oh shit, what was the flag? I'm not going to bring it up now. I'm going to go back and get on this Ghost of Gamergate with Vera. But we'll get on the TYT going after AsmonGold because he asked Uncle Jank if he would. Because on the thing, you can clearly see that Jank has no idea who AsmonGold is. Because he pretty much just does an Alex Jones impression of him. And it's kind of ridiculous. I watched a little bit of it. I wanted to watch the rest of it with y'all. So, all right. Ghost of Gamergate, a new video game sparked fury and accusations of wokeness and entertainment. But we've played the game before, and it's boring. Let's see what this says.
In the video game industry that actually hate gamers' guts, and over the past decade, we have heard non-stop about Gamergate. Whenever something goes wrong for the largest titles in the industry, like The Last of Us Part 2 and Concord and even Ghost of Yotei,
The Last of Us Part 2's biggest crimes was, one, it sucked. The story was awful. They very much wanted to show you how much they hated not just Joel, but Ellie. Because they fucked Ellie all up. Not as much as they did in the show, because at least in the game, it makes sense. But yeah, they shouldn't have killed Joel off. The game was disjointed. It kept going backwards and forward in time, and kept making you play as the people who you should hate. And you would go through and kill everyone, and then go back and see everyone in cute, fluffy puppy mode that you just went through and killed, including animals. It was nice.
blame it on sexism, racism, bigotry, and the gamer gators, and that exact thing is happening yet again. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, it's not shocking to see the Access media trying their best to defend something like Ghost of Yotei because it does support and ultimately promote the narratives that they are trying to push. The people behind this project are individuals that they personally agree with, and that is exactly why Laura Kate Dale here wrote this piece. Now, if you don't know who this individual is, oof. They are a video game journalist, author, and activist. She is known for writing about the transgender and autism communities in relation to video games and for her video game industry leaks. Many of her topics tackle accessibility for disabled players and LGBTQ plus representation. So this is somebody who has a personal stake in the video game industry's continuation of DEI practices. This is somebody who completely agrees that the video game industry has long been filled to the brim with white, cis, evil men, and that things need to change. The image of the video game industry that normies see needs to be altered.
I want to say this. Literally, the only things that have changed in video games is they've pretended to care about these issues and haven't really changed their procedures. They continue putting out, like every now and then you'll have good games. The only difference is now they're seeping into good franchises. And this happens all the time when people see that things make money. The first Ghost came out, and they probably didn't believe in the product enough to think it'll do as gangbusters as it did. But COVID probably had a little bit of a factor. That and the game was phenomenal. It was the Assassin's Creed game. We've been wanted for 10 years. And then so when they saw how much profit it made, they're like, oh, let's get our little fingers in this and fuck it all up. They do this with a lot of sequels. But the thing is, literally the only difference that they've made was they've kind of ugified people. They've put heavyset people in situations where it wouldn't make sense to have a heavyset person. But they're literally just using things as shields to cover themselves from shitty gameplay. And the same shitty scripts that come with a lot of these big money making sequels. That's just
we need to change this space for what they deem is the better. But of course, in my opinion, I think that they just want to continue making money off of the video game industry because they're grifters and they don't actually care about good content and escapism. They simply want narratives they believe in pushed in our entertainment. And this individual, like the people behind Ghosts of Yotei, are simply cultural Marxists.
They really are.
So it says, Ghost of Gamergate, a new video game sparked fury and accusations of wokeness in entertainment, but we've played this game before, and it's boring. If it's so boring, and you don't want to give people you deem as evil attention, why are you writing this article? That's right, because you only care about making money. You're not trying to see our side of the argument. You're not trying to hear us out. No, you just want to sit in your echo chamber and say, I, of course, am correct, and you all are wrong. So it says back in the summer of 2020.
Most of these people are not anti-woman. Most of these people are not anti-LGBT. They're just not. Because, and this is the same thing where history doesn't begin until I was born or until I became a thing. It's like when, Jennifer Lawrence said that she was the first female action star. Just like, oh, okay, yeah, Sarah Connor never existed in T2. Ellen Ripley never existed in the Alien franchise, especially Aliens and Alien 3, Alien 4. The list goes on and on. Are there as many females as there are males? No, but that's the action scene. It's a highly male-dominated world, but females do exist there, and they are very much respected. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say anything demeaning about Sigourney Weaver, and she's a very pretty lady. Linda Hamilton also. There's something just hot about a badass chick. Michelle Rodriguez, another badass chick that'll punch you in the face if you say the wrong thing. People love these people in movies. People love playing as badass female action stars. They don't care. As long as the story's good and the gameplay's good, or the story's good and the action scenes are good in the movies or games, whatever, nobody cares. They're here for it. It's only people like old Drucky Druck here and whoever wrote this article putting their politics in and making things pretty shitty. Whoever helped him write the first Last of Us game, I can't remember the guy's name, was clearly the voice of reason. It's just like when the difference between George Lucas having someone else direct the original trilogy and him directing the whole prequel trilogy himself. Or the difference between Thor Ragnarok and Thor Love and Thunder. When someone's giving pure, unadulterated control of something, they usually tend to fuck it up. No matter how creative or amazing, they usually are. Sometimes censors are good. Other times they're bad. We have to find the balance, and it's usually when the balance is respected and appreciated that pure cinema and great experiences shine through, for the most part.
During the first year of the lockdowns, 2 first-party PlayStation games were released back-to-back, just a month apart. Ghosts of Tsushima and The Last of Us Part 2. Yeah, Tsushima was an absolutely phenomenal game, one of the best games to release in a very long time. And The Last of Us Part 2 was a...
Are you serious? Upon release, Ghosts of Tsushima was pretty beloved by a specific right-wing culture war gamer crowd. nobody liked Ghosts of Tsushima to spite The Last of Us. This is retarded. This is rewriting history. This is stupid. Look, The Last of Us was not great. The second one. Part 1 was probably one of the best video games ever made. And I don't say that lightly. The original Last of Us is a masterpiece. The second one is flying far too close to the sun. So much so that they made Abby ridiculously huge, and then they made her ridiculously average in the game. This is, oh my God.
Disaster. It made a mockery of The Last of Us 1. They disrespected fans. They didn't actually care about creating high quality entertainment, and I will die on that hill. But of course, they say upon release, Ghost of Tsushima was pretty beloved by a specific right-wing culture war gamer crowd who placed it on a pedestal specifically as a way to directly attack The Last of Us Part 2. It is a better game, plain and simple. But of course, now if you like that game, oh, you're just a right-wing chud. While The Last of Us Part 2 is far from perfect in
Look. The Ghost of Tsushima is amazing. With the exception of the Telltale Walking Dead ending of the first season, I think the second season's ending was pretty sad too, but the first one especially, and the end, and pretty much the whole game of The Last of Us. The opening scene, spoilers for a 10, 15-year-old game, the opening scene with Joel and his daughter brought me to tears. This is the first video game to bring me to tears. And then the ending, where Joel makes the decision to, and then, says the thing to Ellie at the end. I'm not going to say specifics because spoilers, but also tears for a video game. It's completely amazing. I was crying for Last of Us Part 2, but for completely different reasons. Because it's shit on everything. But the same thing with Ghost of Tsushima. I cried. I'm not afraid to admit that. I mean, I'm not like weeping or anything, but like I teared up. I was like, it's just so sad. It's like watching Rudy. He's so little, but he tries so big. Like, come on. That's just because it was very well written. It very much kept to the style of watching. It had all the love for the old Kurosawa films and everything, to the point where it even has a black and white with the original Kurosawa style music. Original Japanese. The whole bit. It was a love letter to a whole genre and a whole culture. It was a Western game done right. And it paid great homage to the sources, both heritage and the old samurai films, which later became, morphed into old gunslinger films. But still, to act like people only like Ghost of Tsushima to spite The Last of Us is a kick in the balls to Ghost of Tsushima.
They even go on to admit that Neil Cuckman took inspiration from real-world politics, specifically the Israel-Palestine conflict. The game's sin on release for many on the political right was that it took a series whose lead was previously a man and continued its story with one lead who was a lesbian and another whose appearance was deemed too masculine for these players to be
No, not too masculine to be attracted to. Too masculine to be realistic. You know how ridiculous it is? You have to be on serious anabolic steroids as a man, let alone a woman, to get the physique that Abby had. I love playing as her because it was awesome, punching the shit out of mushroom zombies. But no one cares that Ellie's gay. No one cares. Not as much as you do. We care about the gameplay. We're mad that Joel died because Ellie was busy banging, because it doesn't make any sense. And this is why they corrected it in the show. It doesn't make any sense to send 2 5-foot-tall girls out on patrol. It just doesn't. 3, sure. Especially when one of them is as good a marksman as Ellie is in the game and all that. But it doesn't make any sense. They're supposed to be there for defense, and the fact that they whether there was some kind of snowstorm or not, the fact that they holed up when they were supposed to be patrolling and smoked a bunch of weed and banged, that's what people were saying. That's literally it. No one cares that she's gay. You keep constantly mentioning it, which is why people keep bringing it up, because it's all you talk about. And this is why I always say, if you hear about a thing, whether it be a movie, especially if it's a big franchise, if you hear about a new Star Wars or a new Marvel or a new DC, and you hear about the race, the gender, and the sexuality of the person, before you hear anything about the story, the settings, what the characters' fucking names are, you know it's going to be shit, and you know that they will hold those minority groups up as a human fucking shield for their own profit, for their own benefit. And then they call the people who call it out doing it, they call them the racist or the sexist, the bigot homophobes, the transphobes, when it's not anything further from the truth. And on top of that, you're giving those minority groups a complex because they think that all this hatred is for them. They don't hate them. Most of these people, like, eventually, yes, you're going to cause wear between those groups and the people who you're pitting against them. Because as you're using them as a human fucking shield, you're making it look like they're the ones doing it. And eventually, over time, because it's been 10, 15 years since y'all have been doing this, pretending like you care about people when all you're doing is putting a target on their fucking back. And then you're making the other people seem like they hate those people, so those people get a complex. And then they start to live in fear of all these people who don't hate them, at least not yet. It's completely insane. And for me, sitting on the sidelines, seeing this whole time, slowly dissolving over time, it's mind-numbing. And this is how you get stuff like the Charlie Kirk situation. Yes, that's what it's from. Because you've made trans people, specifically trans people, feel like the whole world is out to get them. When, yes, a lot of people are very mean to trans people, and it's not cool, and it's not nice. But that would have been an issue on its own. But you've made these people the target by putting them front and center in your little controversies that you use to sell fucking video games and movies. Get fucked, Hollywood. Anyway, sorry, continue.
Attracted to her. It's not about being attracted to a character. It's about having a character who is well written, who makes sense to the story. And yes, I think that it is pretty ridiculous. They killed off the one.
For the person in the comments that asked, yes, no, I'm aware that there are assholes out there who already felt this way about quote whatever group. Yes, those people exist. They're a vast minority. I just wanted to point that out. Yes, I'm aware those people exist. Everyone's aware of those people. Well, most people are aware. Those people might not be aware that they exist, but, you know, whatever. Continue.
Male lead in order to make way for girl bosses. I liked Ellie, don't get me wrong. I think that it would have been perfectly fine to keep her as a lead, but I think that it would have been smarter if they split their stories and Joel was doing one thing, she was doing another. But even so, you could have killed off Joel in a very respectful way. And I don't mean that, oh, the actual storyline had to be respectful, because sometimes bad things do happen to good characters in games, but it just felt like a slap in the face to say, you know what, this is your favorite character, and we are going to kill him off as soon as possible. We're not going to give you more time with him. We're going to market the game extremely heavily with him and make you believe that he's in it for the majority of the experience. And yeah, people took that personally. And when you decide to replace them with two girl bosses, right, that is going to be an issue for a lot of people. It says frequently allegations this character must be trans were used to suggest her appearance discredited her right to womanhood. She doesn't have a right to womanhood. She's a fictional character. Tsushima's tale of a male samurai's solitary quest for revenge was heralded as the epitome of what gaming could be. Fast forward to October December 2025, and we see the release of its sequel, Yotei, set 300 years after Tsushima. Yotei follows the story of Atsu, and then they talk about how even though at its core it's similar to Tsushima, and it offers more combat tools for players, but largely a mechanically similar adventure with what I'd argue is more of a personally engaging main character, of course, people don't like it. YouTube creators decried how woke politics ruined the game, while others took to X to decry its progressive agenda. They talk about Mark Kern and how he's discussed the situation and how evil he is, and how basically evil anybody not shutting up and consuming products is evil, which I think is so rich coming from someone like this, because these are the types of people who will boycott something like Hogwarts Legacy because they personally do not agree with decisions that were made, and that's fine. I would never tell somebody to buy a game if they feel passionately enough about boycotting it. You are 100% allowed to do that, but when it's on the other side, no, you're just a sexist, racist, bigot, toxic, incel, loser, chud if you don't buy their game, which is the problem.
Exactly.
If you are allowed to boycott games, we are allowed to boycott games. And I know that there are a lot of people out there who are enjoying Yotei, and I'm really glad. I hope that you play it. I hope you get your money's worth. I absolutely hope you...
Yeah, if you bought the game, if you spent money on the game, I really do hope you enjoy it. 100%. I'm not saying that people shouldn't like the game. If it's your kind of game, then absolutely play it. Buy it. I don't care. I'll end up probably buying it when it's on sale or free somewhere. But in the meantime, not so much.
Love it, but other people didn't want to support it, and there was a pile of problems with Yotei. First of all, they did replace Jin Sakai with Atsu. If they wanted a female lead, they could have just continued the Tsushima story and had Yuna be the lead, and then have Jin Sakai showing up occasionally, having him be integral to the story and what's...
Or done a full-on Miles Morales spin-off, like they did with Miles Morales on the Spider-Man games, and had it be with Yuna. I'd have been 100% down. Or even a prequel story with Yuna.
Going on. That could have been really, really cool. Maybe he's off protecting one section of the island while she's protecting another. You have a dual story, and then they come together at the end, and maybe like the final 2 or 3 chapters, and then they defeat the baddies together. That could have been really, really cool. But you decided to fast forward it, replace him. You only reference him in like one section of that game, which is another problem. But then you have Erika Ishii, who is an activist. That's going to push a lot of people away. She's a self-proclaimed terrorist, given she has said that she is Antifa. You had developers mocking the assassination of a political figure just because they disagreed with some of his opinions and they disagreed with the side that he was on. Then, to top all of that off, you had the Sucker Punch co-founder coming out and saying, this really isn't part of our company culture, I think, and we're sort of not in agreement with this. And they believe that it's not okay, not being very direct and...
Yeah, they said sort of way too many times. Like, we're not really against this, or we're not really for this. We're sort of against it.
Consistent and not releasing a professional statement. And then you, of course, have them not really capturing the essence of the original in a lot of the teasers and trailers. Sure, it looks very beautiful, don't get me wrong, but it just didn't feel exactly the same. It didn't evoke the same emotion. So all of those problems piled together led a lot of people to say, you know what, I'm going to wait until it goes on sale. And that should be perfectly fine. But instead, they go on to attack anybody who didn't like Dragon Age the Veilguard, because we don't want to, have to deal with pronoun options and top surgery scar toggles and modern day terminology like transgender and non-binary.
Having top surgery scars, real world problems in a game like Dragon Age, it's fucking stupid. I'm just going to say it. It is. Having a whole condescending taunt and explanation of being non-binary in a video game that isn't... Look, if you want to make a video game that's specifically about that or whatever, that's fine. The Dustborn exists, okay? These games exist, and they're hilariously bad. But if you want those games to exist, that's fine. But don't cram this into existing franchises to try to broaden your audiences. Because one, Dragon Age the Veilguard is... It's hands down a bad game. Like, Dragon Age 2 wasn't that great, but it's still light years ahead of Dragon Age to Veilguard. Veilguard is probably the most linear Dragon Age game probably ever. I'd have to. Have been meaning to go back and play the first 3 games, but it's just a bad game.
Of course, if you do not support Ghost of Yotei,
and Western RPGs especially have had gay options forever. You can be gay, you can be straight, you can be masculine, you can be feminine. It's always been there. You've had gay storyline toggles. Some of them are a little hard to get to, but you've had gay toggles for male and female characters. Like for the last 20 years at least. At least. Like Mass Effect had this shit. Fucking Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic had this shit. It's been there. Where have you been?
You are speaking out against someone who they say is outspokenly anti-fascist, and maybe that says something more about you than it does them. All of these absolutely just terrible.
I know I keep stopping it and I say I won't, but the anti-fascist argument, the whole, if you're anti-Antifa and Antifa stands for anti-fascist, what does that say about you? You're a retarded person. And as I always say, that's like saying, oh yeah, they're good people because they're the People's Republic of North Korea. Or the Democratic People's Republic of North Korea, I think is what it's officially called. And then there's, the Democratic Republic of China, when we all know that they're a communist dictatorship. These are facts. I can call myself Long Dick Willie. It doesn't make it true. Sorry, Mom, if you're watching. But you can call yourselves all kinds of stuff. I'm going to call me and my friends the good guys. And anyone who hates us or says anything that we don't like, well, they're the bad guys. And we all know what we do to bad guys. We beat them up. This is retarded. Look, just because you name something a thing doesn't mean they're that thing. Like you see this in politics all the time. The Patriot Act wasn't very patriotic. Hands down. And it was backed by both Democrats and Republicans. It was brought about by Republicans. It was strengthened by the Obama administration. I don't know, shit like this bothers me. The fact that, and God, Twitter and even friends of mine on Facebook is full of dipshits that say this shit. Oh, if you're anti-Antifa, that must mean that you're a fascist, and you know what we do to fascists.
Things. They even actually bring up the Assassin's Creed.
What happened?
Game that we recently heard was canceled. Information with a grain of salt, but apparently you were supposed to play as a black former slave fighting against the early formation of the KKK, and the game was canceled due to concerns over the political climate in the States, but also in part due to the vocal right-wing backlash against Yasuke. And of course, we are broken records at this point, trying to explain what the problems were with Yasuke. He actually was a half-decent character in the game. The issue is that, first of all, you're playing as a historical figure, so you're bound to be doing things that are historically inaccurate. You had them boasting about how it was a historically accurate game when that clearly wasn't the case. You have them deciding to put a female in the game to go with him, right? To be paired with him. No way, which by the way has almost the same exact story as Atsu, because these people can't create anything new and unique and original. But it wasn't just that he was black. If you set an Assassin's Creed game in Africa, I would never sit here and say, I need to be able to play as a white guy or a white woman, because that would be fucking absurd. But it's okay when you're playing as a black character in a game set in Japan to these people. It's hypocrisy, plain and
not even modern Japan. Like, yes, I know Yasuke was technically rumored to have been real when he was. Ugh. They took a lot of liberties. They take a lot of liberties with a lot of these games, but they usually do it with a character that is made up specifically for the game. Okay.
simple. I didn't want to have to play as Yasuke because I wanted to play as a Japanese man, just like if there was an Assassin's Creed game set in Africa, I would want to play as a black man. I think that would be perfectly fine, but I think that it's just so funny that these people truly believe these companies like Ubisoft want to,
and these are the same people that called, what was it, Resident Evil 5 racist just because it happened to take place in Africa and there were black zombies because it take place in Africa. You can't make this shit up, man.
make content for them and love them so much.
That was probably the first retarded game controversy that I can remember, at least.
Even though these companies refuse to make a game set in Africa and actually give us authentic African representation, but they Americanize all these characters, right? Oh, a black former slave in America. Oh, a black slave in Japan. Just give us a strong black lead. Set a game in the 1300s during the reign of Mansa Musa. That could be sick, but no, they
or just make it in Africa, or make the Confederate Assassin's Creed game that you were planning on doing. Make the story good. You can even literally just make Django Unchained again, but make it to where you play the game. You could even get Tarantino to sign off on it.
They won't. They don't give us what we want or what we would be perfectly fine with supporting. It says, though, video game executives are unfortunately listening to this vocal minority of right-wing voices and allowing them to make boardrooms shy away from progressive themes. Yeah, and the problem with this argument is that for years, you guys, in the words of Kim Belair, terrified these companies into making things more progressive. I know this individual isn't directly affiliated with Sweet Babying, but this is clearly the mindset these people have had in the industry for over a decade. At this point, I mean, look at what happened with Anita Sarkeesian. Laura Kate Dale here was a part of Gamergate 1, and they were one of the people who went to these companies and went on social media and said, you need to be more diverse or else you're going to pay the price. It says, though, that many of these ideas are barely progressive. It's hardly a dramatic move for a game to feature a female character who is older or doesn't fit specific beauty standards, but that's the point. No, we are perfectly fine with having female characters who are not gorgeous. Look at Brienne of Tarth, for example, in the show, in the book. People love that character, and she is ugly as sin. In the book, of course, they picked a prettier actress, but at the same time,
well, I think Gwendolyn Christie, a lot of it comes across in her personality, and her personality seems to come across in her playing the role. She's a very likable character, and sometimes when you like somebody, they just become more attractive in general. That's kind of how it works.
About a character who is not traditionally beautiful, and I'm sure that they're
but them purposefully uglifying people, especially the most obscene example of this is Horizon Zero Dawn. For no reason at all, they made what's her name I can't think of her name, but they made her fat. They made her chubby for no reason. Like she's gonna get fat between the games. She lives in a primitive society. It's absolutely ridiculous. You don't get chubbier by being more active. You just don't. Unless you're pregnant, but I don't recall her being pregnant in that game.
There are a lot of men out there who think that she is a super well-written character, who love her and are perfectly fine with her, but you don't want to actually represent that opinion and actually have to argue against that opinion because you know that you would lose. They end this article by saying the issue of right-wing men attacking minority creatives and characters in video games has been going on for well over a decade at this point. I think it's so funny that, of course, they need to say right-wing men, because if they start bringing women into this conversation, well, then they lose their footing that they believe they have much quicker. They don't bring up people like Lumi or Savvy or me because they know that it would make the argument that much harder for them to counter. So, yeah, of course, they are coming out and saying it's the ghost of Gamergate and the chuds are attacking this game unfairly, when really we are just talking about the things we dislike that surrounded this title. Some people decided not to purchase it. But guys, remember, it's totally fine when they boycott and don't support a game because they don't believe in the people behind it. But it's not okay when you.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I picked these two stories from Veridark today. The one, it's okay when you boycott Harry Potter because J.K. Rowling's a bad person. But it's not okay when you boycott Ghosts of Yotei because its developers and its lead actress are bad people. It all comes together. It's all connected. But that's clearly why I put these two on here, and they weren't completely picked at random because they're her latest two videos. So what are you doing? I put more thought into my show than that. I don't. But I did put them here because of that reason. Because these are the very same, it might not be the exact same person writing both of these stories, but they have the same ideals. It's okay to boycott something if you don't like it, if I don't like it, but if you boycott something that you don't like, well, you're a chud, and you just don't like women, or you just don't like this. They will always be the virtuous person. When in reality, you're just boring. And that's it. A lot of these people have nothing else going on in their lives. So they need to make believe that the whole world's against them. And some people, I know it does seem that way because some people actually get hate. But a lot of the people who write this, they're writing it from a privileged position, and they've never had any real strife or struggle in their entire lives. The worst thing that's ever happened to them was the first time they were told, no, you can't have that, or you can't do that, or you have to earn that. And that's just the fact of it. And I'll say it. Some, not all, but some trans activists are literally just the same basement-dwelling incels with a gimmick. And that's it. Look, I know it's horrible to say, but if you really think about it and you really look at some of these people, that's it. They're just incels who said, you know what? I could use more color in my life. I could wear a dress. Not all of them, 100%. I have friends. I'm not going to say their names because I don't want anyone who sees this attacking them. Because I know they will. I have a friend who's a conservative trans person, and I'm not talking about Blair White. I have a couple other, not conservative, but around the same party line as me, which is no party line. They're leaning more left than right, obviously. But they don't agree with all this craziness. They don't believe in the whole bringing kids into the situation as far as hormones or anything like that. But all in all, look, if you like something, then like it. Don't judge other people for liking things. Don't judge other people for not liking things. Your opinion is your opinion, and you're allowed to have it. The same way that people who like things that you don't like or don't like things that you do like are allowed to have their opinion. As long as they aren't dicks to you, they're allowed to do it and have it their way. Same with you. Stop being dicks to people who don't agree with you. Because at the end of the day, you're only defending the multi-million or billion-dollar corporation that you work for or you like. When it comes to a lot of these game studios, when it comes to, Jesus, in the past, things like Target and all that. And then you'll turn around and try to dunk on someone for saying that they like this or that about Elon Musk. You're no different. The only difference is when your people aren't very well liked, they don't get firebombed. We're in very disturbing times right now. I suggest everyone try to be a little nicer, try to be a little more understanding, and hopefully someday soon, we can meet back in the middle like we used to. And I hate to bring up the 90s with rose-tinted glasses, but even people who were 20 years older than me know that the 90s were awesome. And even people who are even 10 years younger than me know the 90s were awesome. The early 2000s were pretty good. 9/11 sucked. And things got a little, like, got really heavy against American Muslims. It happened in my hometown. I'm not going to get into it because we're running out of time, but they had been in my hometown for forever, and it was horrible. Some of the things that happened to their mosque and such, no violence in the streets or anything. You only see that from modern day activists. But that's as bad as I saw it. I lived in the Bible Belt, where a lot of Bush voters lived. And the worst we saw was a little bit of graffiti. Maybe some weird looks. But I was very much alert and aware of things at the time. Just try to have your own opinions. Again, just like I said yesterday, if you wake up and you don't have an opinion until you know what Trump thinks about something, then you're barely a person. Formulate your own thoughts or get out of the conversation, honestly. And if you ever have the thought, it's not my job to educate you, but it is your job to to cast me out or cast aspersions in my direction because I disagree with you, but you won't take the time to explain to me why I'm wrong or why you're right or why maybe we should meet in the middle, then what are we even doing? Why do you care so much if you don't care enough to change my mind? And that's where I'll leave it. Just, look, I know I've been really aggro lately. I'm trying to tone it down. This hadn't been good times. But even now, I still, I just want peace. I hate seeing the world the way it is, and I wish it would stop. Not the world, but I wish all the craziness would stop. But just be nicer to each other, and like I always say, take care of yourselves and each other. We'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm probably going to be streaming in the